First Bank. You first
And we're here again for another edition of Freshly Pressed 981 on Smooth 98.1. For the next 30 minutes, we'll take you around the national scene, bringing you all the big stories from yesterday right here on the show.
I'm Shopka Martins,
I'm Victor Pepple.
and joining us for the next half hour, we have got Fidel. Good morning.
Good morning, Shopware. Good morning, Victor. Good morning, Lagos.
Thank you very much for joining. Now, you can be part of the show simply by sending messages to us on WhatsApp 0809 You can send tweets as well to Smooth981FM. Use the hashtag freshly pressed 981. Trust me, we'll take your tweets before the end of the show
Yes, we
at
will.
top of the hour today.
We promise.
And we're streaming live on YouTube.
.com/smooth981 FM Lagos. Do make sure you catch the live stream wherever you are in the world and join the conversation by using the comment section.
All right, let's begin with the Guardian newspaper. In the Guardian newspaper today, Electoral Amendment Act 2022, Supreme Court reserves judgment. It's in the Guardian, like I said. Now, the Supreme Court yesterday reserved judgment in the suit filed by President Muhammadu Buhari and the Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Mdalami, to void the provisions of Section 8412 of the Electoral Act 2022. Now, the court will announce a date to the parties involved. Fidel, when you saw this story, in fact, just help us understand what is going on here.
I mean, this is the famous Section 84, sub 12 of our Electoral Act. I mean, it borders on who can, vie for office and whether, I mean, the gist behind public officers, appointees, and all that. So, I mean, I don't know if it is wise for me to go into, interpreting the
Please
section.
interpret. We want to get interpretation. Let's try.
Unfortunately, Victor, I have to leave it to
The Supreme Court.
Supreme Court. So I mean, in their wisdom, they would be the ones to.
But in your understanding of that electoral act, that is very contentious and controversial, let's just get excerpts.
I mean, look, there is the how would I put it now? There is the presumption that when you are in office, right, there's a certain level of how would I put it now, clout you carry, which can influence your position, when you're vying for office. And indeed, such a person shouldn't be, how would I say, in office when they are looking for and or they are vying for a seat. However, whether or who exactly, and this is the tricky part, who exactly can be referred to as that kind of officer, whether you are put in that office by virtue of appointment, by virtue of maybe election, or whatever the case may be. I don't know, because like I said, I don't want to interpret it. I don't know if some certain officers will be caught up by this section, or some kind of officers will be excused from this section. So yeah, let's see what the Supreme Court has to say about it, and if the Supreme Court will order our um, legislators to remove section. Because I mean, apart from what the section says, what the Attorney General of the Federation is asking the Supreme Court to do is to remove it, or void it, right? Because it contravenes our already existing constitution, right?
But the Speaker of the River State House of Assembly had, in a suit to the Supreme Court, asked Mr. President to be out of that particular suit because, I mean, he's not running for office. It doesn't affect him directly. If you went through that particular, article from the Guardian newspaper. However, I know that the Senate recently passed, amended the Electoral Act to allow for statutory delegates to vote at the party primaries this weekend, which, I mean, most of them at the upper legislative chamber will be delegates this weekend at their various political parties. That was very quick. In about a day or two, they had amended that particular section 84, which concerns statutory delegates. The same section 84 was asking those in public offices to resign, if they want to contest for office or participate as delegates during the elections. But the Senate only attended to one arm of it, which concerns them obviously, and then the other part, we see that the Attorney General is asking the Supreme Court for interpretation.
Okay, so the truth is, so the first issue you raised, saying, oh, it doesn't really concern him. I mean, the the, the president of the federation is, ably represented in legal matters by his attorney general,
Mm-hmm.
and if anything that concerns the president's cabinet concerns him, right? So whether you like it or not, we cannot say that he's not affected, right? So I mean, like I said, this is the submission of counsel to the Attorney General of Rivers State. So that's why it's hard to go into these issues, right? So how do you say that he's not affected? One on the one side, then on the other side, I mean, we're saying who are these kind of officers that are caught up with this section, and who will be would I say who will be an exception to this rule? I mean, for example, we saw cases where the governor of the CBN was, I mean, I don't think I heard him say he was contesting or he wanted to contest, right? But I mean, it was everywhere that he has the intention to contest for the president of the Federal Republic. Like I
He
said,
went to court for
he
interpretation.
went to court for interpretation, but he didn't say he was going to contest. It could be that you want to do something, but you can ask the court to interpret. So I want to do something, and then before I do it, I'm going to ask the court to tell me if it is right or not. So the fact that you're going to, I mean, it's the job of the courts to interpret our laws. So the fact that I approach the courts to interpret the laws doesn't necessarily mean it's something I am going to do, but at least for the propriety of it, first approach the courts. If the court said it's okay for you to do this thing, even if you're in office, then you can come out and say, okay, I hereby contest for the president of the Federal Republic. But until then, you cannot expressly say that this gentleman is contesting for or has expressed interest to contest. And I don't want to, digress. Okay, so let's see what the Supreme Court. Unfortunately, looking at the story, the Supreme Court doesn't give a date as to. Say they'll communicate a date as to when the next hearing will be. And I mean, I want to believe the Supreme Court will be really expedient with this, because I mean, elections are coming, so we need a lot of clarity around the Electoral Act. But to be honest with you, I like this, and I'll tell you why. A lot of times there are so many things we don't understand in our laws. A lot of the existing laws we have, there are a lot of areas that are, would I say, there are a lot of gray areas.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the only way for our laws to be properly understood is to be tested in the courts. So all this going on, I mean, it's taxpayers' money indeed, but it is indeed very good for our laws to be tested, and it gives clarity as to what powers each person has, or what this
So
person can
basically,
do.
you're saying it's taxpayers' money, but it's not a waste of taxpayers' money.
Yeah, well,
In
yeah,
that it
kind
goes to
of, kind of.
strengthening.
I would like to see it outside the whole electoral process, right? I'd like to see us test our laws outside just the process of electioneering and all that. But laws have to be tested. That's the only way we can get clarity as to what rights people have, and what people can do and what they cannot do.
All right.
Basically.
Okay. Okay, from Punch newspaper, Osinachi, federal government slams homicide charges against husband. Now, this was a 23 count charge against Peter Wachuku, the husband of the late popular gospel artist Osinachi, who died on the 8th of April after he allegedly assaulted her. Now, he was charged with culpable homicide, and it was in a case filed last week, May 20th, at the federal High Court of the Federal Capital Territory in Abuja by the head of the Sexual and Gender-Based Violence Department of Public Prosecutions of the Federation of the Ministry of Justice, Mrs. Yewande Bola Awokwetu. So we're seeing some movement with regards to the case against Peter Wachuku, because last we saw he had been, the police had started an investigation. This coming about as Osinachi died, her husband coming out to say that it was an undisclosed illness, only for us to then hear allegations left, right, and center from family members and friends that actually it was as a cause of domestic violence. So, Fidel, want to get your thoughts on this?
I mean, I just hope the Department of Public Prosecutions can be very clear with their case. And I mean, there's been a lot of social media trial.
Because what tends to happen is that it's a trial, like you said, public trial, trial by social media, and then we see so many counts being brought against an individual, and then somehow or the other the case.
I mean, the truth is, you know, when there's when there's a crime, there are a lot of elements, and there are a lot of moving parts that go on, from the intention to the activities to you know, even the kind of would I say weapons or tools being used. I mean, some people say, why didn't you just charge him for murder? The truth is, he didn't kill her instantly, right? She was taken to a hospital. She died in a hospital. So the best the Department of Public Prosecutions can do is bring a charge for homicide, or maybe a charge for manslaughter, right? So I mean, in some jurisdictions they'll call it homicide, but I mean, this is just culpable homicide. So the Department of Prosecution has to, you know, prove different elements, because the truth is that when it comes to criminal cases, the accused person is innocent until otherwise
proven guilty.
You get.
But sometimes it comes across as an everything but the kitchen sink approach.
Look, the truth is, would you you cannot, the courts cannot assume, that, you know, everything is clear. You understand? What does the man's what does the defense attorney have in his own pocket? What's he going to say? Is he going to bring out a video evidence? Is he going to bring out a statement? Is he going to show us that the man has been suffering from some sort of mental illness? I mean, I'm not building a case for the defense lawyer, right? I'm just saying that the Department of Public Prosecution, regardless of what they've been seeing on social media, they have to go in with their best game, because I mean, there's a lot of emotions and there's a lot of tensions with this particular case. And well, unfortunately for the man, this isn't a political trial, so we expect that this case will be handled expediently, and it's be handled like in the best manner. And I just hope that justice prevails.
Yeah, so usually when we hear about the prosecution, it's usually with regards to high-profile cases, political cases, and also cases of regarding oil, right? And then suddenly they come across in the public domain as a little bit inept, or willfully inept, should we say. So it will be good to see that our prosecution services actually work
indeed.
Well.
And like I said, I don't think they lack capacity, right? Especially when it comes to these agencies in Lagos State, the agency in charge of sexual and gender-based violence. They are really up and doing, and I just hope they just do what they're used to doing, basically.
All right. Very interesting. Our next story in from the Guardian newspaper. Sanwo wins APC governorship ticket in one-sided primary. Fidel, I want to get your thoughts on this. The Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo won the All Progressives Congress governorship ticket to run in the 2023 elections. At the end of the primary, spearheaded by the Electoral Committee Chairman Adamu Shetima Yuguda, Sanwo scored 1,170 votes, though he was unopposed, as the other two candidates who bought forms were not cleared by the party to participate in the primary election.
I have to say, are you winning if you're the only one allowed in the venue?
I mean, I wonder how Governor Babajide Sanwo feels about it. I mean, I'm sure he's happy.
I would assume he's happy.
Yeah, but the truth is, I mean, for us to show, I mean, for APC to show like how democratic they are, we should have seen some sort of opposition. But when they say these people were not, they didn't pass the screening, I mean, I really wonder what it is or what it was that they were found wanting with, or what, how did they fall short? You know, I really would have wanted to see those details. Right? Is it that the person presented fake WAEC or NYSC certificate. I want to just know
Are
what
we going to
exactly.
see litigations following what happened yesterday?
I mean, with the way the APC is structured, I doubt it. You know, I think those gentlemen will just take it like fair game.
Fair game after spending 50 million naira on the form.
Can they get a refund?
Well, maybe people bought it for them. Yeah, maybe we see that a lot these days. People buy forms for
So,
people. So
ideally, if you follow the political process in Nigeria, on the day of the elections, they could ask you to step down and then make a refund for the purchase of the form and any other expenses that you might have incurred in the process. But this wasn't said or done. They were blocked at the gate at the entrance. Then you can't come in. You were not cleared from Abuja.
Victor, unfortunately, I'm not a card carrying member of APC. I do not know how they do their own
Oh,
workings.
but we read these stories in the dailies.
And well, so in my view, if any of them does feel slighted, again, like I said, they should test this, including the laws and tenets of APC. They should test these things in our courts. Okay.
All right, we move on now. Do remember, send your messages into 0809 444 We're going to take a very quick break. When we get back, we'll be taking your messages from across the platforms on YouTube, on Twitter, and on WhatsApp.
Today seems to be legal Friday.
It does seem like that.
Go Friday.
I'm glad it works.
That's a nice
We
catch.
got in.
Nice catch.
Let's check out.
Go Friday.
I don't tell you before, say I don't get change. We show you this one.
This is a wonderful picture.
Yeah, I was going to tell you. This is a studio photo, like one guy that wants to contest.
This million gives me, I'll buy the form.
Obi Franklin lost his
Oh yeah, I know. I saw that.
He contested APC Cross River State at House of Assembly. He lost to a 27-year-old. You know this thing that grassroots really. He's a Lagos boy now.
I mean, yeah, I
He's a
agree.
Lagos
I
boy.
agree. Like,
That other one is a grassroots guy that has always played with politicians, helped them, during elections. So it's like a reward for him this time around.
27.
27,
Wow.
I'm happy for him.
Hi, this is Michelle Dede. Keep listening to Smooth 98.1.
Welcome back. Keep sending those messages in to the WhatsApp portal 0809 444 We have this one in from Yinka Bolu. Says, do we really have monies we're not using up to the point where we're using such money to test laws in our court? Can't everyone just use heads or brains if they have one, a working one? That's Yinka's message. And Fred from Festac says, Fidel is just trying to play to the gallery. If the CBN governor has not said, he's contesting, why did he get the nomination forms then? Our laws are not ambiguous. It's just politicians playing funny politics, believing that we're gullible. I'm not in support of evil, but look at how the government is handling cases. Osinachi's husband being charged with homicide, but the killers of Deborah are charged with disturbance of public peace, even with the video evidence. Double standards. It's really pathetic. We have this other message in.
From Dr. I at CMS saying today seems to be Legal Friday. I agree with Fidel's analysis, but many Nigerians don't really like legal or factual analysis. I pray Osinachi gets justice and an example is made against all. Against our penchant for gratuitous violence in our society. Whilst Henry Emanuel says, are you surprised that Sanwo won the primaries? Of course he would win as long as he remains a puppet governor in the hands of those that put him there.
Henry, perhaps you could just call him a governor without all the other, but it's okay.
Lots of descriptions for that. Okay, Premium Times News now. Let's take a look at this headline. Train attack. Terrorists release another video of abducted passengers. Recent video, the hostages were pleading with Nigerian authorities to come to their rescue. We also saw that there was a Pakistani national who was a part of the abductees who then asked for this to be made international. The government of Pakistan should come in and help as well and let there be, some sort of cooperation. But this video is coming again after this. What was it? 3 days ago, we heard the news coming out that that the hostages had given a 7-day ultimatum to the federal government to release their children who are being held in an orphanage and also their colleagues. If they otherwise, they would start to starve and then kill the hostages that they have with them.
This is the fourth time they are releasing videos, and they already gave ultimatum. Like you said,
Mm.
I don't know what is government doing because we're gradually getting to the deadline.
I'm, I mean, it's scary. I have to be honest. It's scary. I don't know what approach. You know, is it going to be the military approach, or is it going to be negotiations? Because I mean, traditionally we hear the phrase "do not negotiate with terrorists," but in this case, I mean, when you are not, and I don't want to say you are not able to fish them out, because I I believe if these bandits, if these terrorists are within the Federal Republic of Nigeria, I believe there should be some intelligence. Is there something going on that we don't know about? With respect to the, I mean, it's also very pathetic that we have even foreign nationals being caught up in this. I mean, this gentleman, as far as we know, is probably maybe just doing business in Nigeria, a Pakistani national, and then he gets caught up in this mess, including our own citizens. And it's been so long, and I don't know. I'm actually just disheartened that these people their lives are in danger, and it's this this government has to we have to figure it out, because if these
Now,
people
when
are
you
in
say this
Nigeria.
government has to figure it out, it's been months, 2 months now, since March 28th, and so far, what has happened?
So why I say the government has to figure it out, because sometimes I feel like the Nigerian army can do it. I'm one of the big believers in the Nigerian army. I believe they can do it. I believe if they are giving the right, would I say the right orders,
But here's the thing: not everything needs a hammer. Is this one of the cases that needs a hammer? Because when we're looking at this, what's the focus of the story is on the kidnapped victims, the victims of these terrorists. If you bring the army in, what are the guarantees that they will come out of the situation alive? Because that then becomes a very, very dangerous situation with exchange of gunfire.
okay,
No?
so I mean, I want to believe that when we say the Nigerian army, it's not all bombs and hammers. You know, the Nigerian army does have a negotiation or a tactical wing, right? And if we are going to get these people out, apart from giving and meeting the demands of terrorists, there is going to be the need to have some sort of defense or some sort of military might behind whatever negotiation we are making. So that is the reason, and to that extent, I believe the Nigerian army has to be involved. And I mean, if you give them X amount of money, or if you give them X amount of grants, what is the guarantee that they're not going to come out tomorrow and say they want this, or they want more, or they start making more demands? So this is the reason why we need to have the Nigerian army to be able to at least make them understand that we are negotiating from a point of power. At this point, we are not. Okay, so I believe that, I mean, I'm not a military tactician, right? So, but we need to find a way to figure it out. The Nigerian army needs to have a better grasp of the territory known as Nigeria. If it is to do like a sort of overhaul of the technology or drones they have buzzing around the country, especially in that part of Nigeria, they need to figure out, because
But when it comes to situations like this, we're seeing fires in all parts of the country. Why is it all being laid at the feet of the Nigerian army? Do we not have other security outfits, other intelligence gathering outfits as well? Why is it
so
all going back to the army, to
so
the
so
military?
so maybe I'm interchanging the words. So we have the Nigerian army, we have the Nigerian navy, and the Nigerian air force, right? In this kind of situation, I really struggle to see what the police can do, right? And we must understand something when it comes to.
Is the police not within the community? Even if they're dispatched from the center, are they not within the community? Are they not living in the communities?
Shopper, in an ideal situation, yes, but in the reality, with the reality of things, like I said, I struggle to see what the Nigerian police can do.
All right. Kazim comes in with a message here in relation to the train attack. Says the government is attending to what concerns it. The victims of the train attack and Deborah are relegated to the back burner, but the president is asking for interpretation of electoral laws. If the relatives of government officials were in custody, they would have attended. They would have been attended to first and fast. That's message from Kazim.
Yankavoli says these terrorists want their leaders or commanders back in exchange for the victims. Are we ready to give them what they want and in turn strengthen them again? Then the cycle of madness happens, and yes, this will happen again, says Yinka.
Let's take this one in from the These Day newspaper. Nigeria loses $2 billion annually to informal exports trade from Lagos Airport. Now, investigations by the These Day revealed we lose about $2 billion to exports. Investigation further revealed that the foreign exchange earned by the country does not reflect in government's financial system. It was learned that so many products are exported from Nigeria and are not captured in Form M, indicating that the foreign currencies earned are not documented because the export of the products do not follow acknowledged official channels. And this is because the general opinion is that the products and produce from Nigeria do not meet European and American certification. So they are informally exported to individuals overseas as personal effect. I want to also tie this in with Nigeria's 50 billion naira export expansion facility program. I recall last year, January, the government earmarked 50 billion naira for export expansion facility program to help exporters in this country. I don't know how far we've gone with that, but 50 billion naira, such a huge sum. And here we have an article from the This Day newspaper that we lose $2 billion annually from illegal exports. Fidel.
I, 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 I don't know if I agree with the naming of it, illegal exports, right? If Nigerians are sending things to Nigerians abroad, because they're not going through Form M, I wouldn't call it illegal exports. I mean, just because there is a tariff that will follow, or maybe some sort of documentation.
Okay, informal.
Informal, yeah. Let's use informal, right? So here's the thing, right? When it comes to exports, it's relative, right? It's relative because you have a certain standard, right, being brought by the country that would be referring to that product as an import, right? And then they hand it over to you and say, this is the standard we want if you're going to be, exporting a certain amount. And the local producer cannot meet these standards. So what do? They bring down the numbers and put it in bags or whatever, and then say it's for personal consumption. And then they move personal consumption like 3-4 times. And then before you know it, they've met the number they need over there, And is it serving a purpose? Yes. Is it giving a business advantage to somebody there? Yes. So what does the government need to do? I think they need to sit down and say, okay, from a point of power, we need to sit down with these countries and say, bring down these standards, right? Bring down these standards, like especially for these products that come out of Nigeria or come out of West Africa, really they should be relatively the same, right? They cannot always check the boxes you want them to check. Therefore, can we revise these standards being put out by Europe or being put out by the Far East, right? If you have people in this certain country that need this product and they're consuming it, if a certain level of harm, or if you cannot prove that this kind of product is maybe not is fit for consumption, or it cannot, would I say, it doesn't have a certain unhealthy angle to it. Can we bring down these standards? I think.
So it can't meet up to the standards to bring the standards down to your level.
Yes. For
Interesting, Fidel. Unfortunately, we have run out of time for the show. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you find Fidel and ask him about this final analysis up on Twitter and Instagram. He is at Izotene. We're done with Freshly Pressed, but coming up, it is Sports Inside the Locker Room with your participation fully required.
first. First,
Chopper is possible.
Yeah.
It is possible. It is possible.
Yeah.